last one for this week. Welcome to Business Morning. I'm Amy John Mekwa.
And I'm Ladi Williams. Thank you for joining us. Let's take a look at what's in the news. The International Monetary Fund says Nigeria's economy is starting to gradually recover from the negative effects of the COVID-19 pandemic, but unemployment and inflation remain high. A statement by the Bretton Woods Institute at the end of its virtual meeting with the Nigerian authorities stresses that inflation is expected to remain elevated in 2021, but likely to decelerate in the second half of the year to about 15.5%. It notes that the adoption of the NAFEX exchange rate by the central bank is encouraging and urged the Apex Bank to maintain the momentum in unifying all windows. The IMF mission also expressed concern with the resurgence of fuel subsidies while reiterating the introduction of market-based fuel pricing mechanism.
And the Director General of the Securities and Exchange Commission, Mr. Lamido Yuguda, has emerged as the chairman of the West African Securities Regulators Association. A handover ceremony took place at a virtual meeting of the Executive Council of WASRA, which was attended by all CEOs of member regulatory authorities. Mr. Yuguda, who succeeds Ghana's SEC DG, Daniel Osamebre Tete, will lead the body of West African securities regulators for a two-year period. WASRA was established in 2015 as an association of capital markets regulatory institution for West African countries to foster market integration in the sub-region.
And figures released by the National Bureau of Statistics indicate that Nigeria has a trade deficit of over $3.9 billion. What impact does this have on the economy? Dr. Segun Musa, the Deputy National President, Air Logistics, NAGAF, joins us next for this conversation. Do stay with us. This is Business Morning.
Well, according to the National Bureau of Statistics, the value of total exports in Q1 2021 decreased by 8.99% against the level recorded in the fourth quarter of 2020. The value of agricultural exports increased by over 100% in Q1 compared to Q4 of 2020. The value of raw materials goods exported in Q1 2021 was 9% lower than the value in the fourth quarter of 2020. The value of solid minerals exports increased by over 100%. Now, against this backdrop and with the issue of diversifying the economy, we're going to have that discussion now with Dr. Segun Musa. Good morning. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you very much.
Great to have you.
Yeah, so higher level of imports over exports resulted in trade deficit. Nigeria has a trade deficit of over almost 2 billion naira now. Should we be worried? The figures show we have some increases and some decreases. Should we be worried? Are we on the right track?
Yes, thank you very much. I think we need to look at the statistics very well. You look at the deficits. How significant is the deficit we're talking about? And we also need to look at what are the expectations. There's no way we can actually acknowledge that we are achieving progress if we have a deficit that has encouraged import over exports. We're actually looking at if over 2/3 of your economy is sitting on imports, then we should be worried. Because the essence of having a viable economy is the balance of trade. Without the balance of trade, we can't talk about balance of payment. And if there's no balance of payment, our currency will be worthless. So we should be worried. We should be worried.
But how much of this can we attribute to the taste of Nigerians?
When you're talking about taste of Nigeria, you're actually looking at Nigerians do not have a particular taste. They go for price of commodity. They go for standard. For instance, if you are talking about, let us encourage Nigeria rice. And after eating Nigeria rice, you end up in the hospital for appendix treatment. If we are unable to meet up with price, standard, quality, assured, definitely Nigeria will go for something better. We have taste, but definitely we are also looking at so many other factors beyond taste. Today, we have China wire cable, but we still go for Nigeria as our first choice. That is to show that it's not as if they are not willing to patronize, but they are looking for price, and standard quality assured.
But thank God you mentioned China, because when China started out, I remember here in Nigeria, if you want to refer something as being of low quality, you say it's China made.
yeah.
But now China has gotten to a level where even they are one of the world giants economically, and because, they locked up, and even though they were producing things of low quality, they were patronizing themselves and they were learning from their mistakes, and now they are one of the giants economically. So, why can't we do that? We have the potentials.
I think the starting point of China, if you study the history of China very well, they decided to embark on quality assured production. That was their starting point. They were actually producing quality for local consumption. But for export consumption, like you mentioned, that me and you will import from China, is low quality. So if you like, you can't patronize that of quality standard, and you can. But most Nigeria traders prefer patronizing and purchasing that of quality because lower quality because of price. But that does not mean China did not start with quality. They have quality standard for local consumption. As well, we have some, it depends on countries. There are some countries that they have a standard that you don't go below. So when you are purchasing from China, you request for that standard. But if you are the kind of country like ours in Nigeria here, you can decide to go for low quality. That does not mean China did not start with quality. They started with quality, but they have two markets, quality and low quality.
Brothers in Aba, for instance, would you say they are producing for Nigerian quality, or they are not giving attention to quality? Because you see some products from there and you mistake it that it's imported anyway.
Yes, when you're talking about our local markets, they're actually producing for Nigerian market consumption based on our standard. Until and otherwise, the federal government decides to raise the bar that this is the minimum quality standard required for our local consumption. As we speak now, we don't have local standard. That's why when you look at cement produced in Nigeria and the one imported, the one in Nigeria is of low quality than what is obtainable in other parts of the world. So this is our own standard as defined by our government.
I think SON is not doing enough. Is that what you're implying?
I think SON is only interested in revenue. Yeah, with fairness to them, they're only interested. Because if SON is interested in quality assured out of local manufactured goods, by now, we should be talking about most of our local products that are of quality standard that can meet other similar products in other parts of the world. But as we speak now, most, like the manufacturing companies we have in Nigeria, look at the product they are producing. Coca-Cola, I'm sorry, I don't want to mention him. We have so many products that do not meet others. Each time you travel, you meet all these products in other parts of the world, and you taste, you feel, there's a difference, but they're the same name. So the standard organization is only interested in revenue. They are more of revenue collection than product regulation. So this is the standard that the standard organization is contented with.
So is it safe to say that what is sent here is of lower standard? Because as you mentioned now, when you taste maybe a biscuit brand from UK and you taste the same thing here, there's a big difference. So is it that they're sending...
Or is it for our health? Because that was a debate some time ago, that sometimes the sugar content is lower because of the health of Nigerians.
No, you see, when you talk about quality, you are looking at the ingredients that are actually integrated into that production. If it will be cheaper for me to bring a product that will be of high sugar level, and it will be cheaper, than to bring something of low sugar level and it will be higher, I'd rather go for that because the government does not even know the difference. When you have a standard organization that cannot distinguish between ingredients of products, and everything can just come in. So it is a standard that we are being positioned that we are consuming until the federal government realizes the need for us to upgrade our level and meet that international standard. So the standard of ABA is Nigerian standard until and otherwise the federal government, through the SON and other relevant regulatory agency, decide to say, look, let us upgrade our standard to meet this level.
All right. Let's look at the borders now. You're an advocate for, open borders, but don't you think that, defeats the purpose of, reducing our imports at this point?
No. When you're talking about open border, you're talking about competition. You're talking of avoiding a situation where a particular product or a particular business owner monopolize the markets. Borders are not meant for only import. It's for both import and export. So it depends. It is a responsibility of government to now regulate how to develop our local content, our production level, to meet that of our export level, import level. Because, like I said earlier on, if you don't have policy in place to drive your local production, you'll be a consumable country. And you continue consuming anything. So if we have a system in place that encourages local production, of course, we begin to develop the standard of exports. But as we speak now, we import virtually everything. We are import dependent. So until we are able to identify what is our national interest, and I think that should be the basic and the primary focus of government. That's why most of the government has failed over time. Because we do not have what we call national interest.
Well, we do have a lot of interventions from the government, going to the area of agriculture. I mean, there's been a lot of attention given to agriculture. There's been funds, given to manufacturers also. So don't you think these show this is the interest of the government, or are you saying they are not enough?
I don't think that would be true, 100% right or 50% right, because we are aware, for instance, the farmers, the rice farmers, as a case study. The rice farmers received so much grants, loans from federal government. And as we speak today, it has turned to a secrecy that we don't know whether they've started paying back or not. We don't know what is the capacity they've developed over time. Because if we've been able to collect so much billions as loans, by now we should be talking about purchasing rice at a reasonable cost.
So what do you think? Where is the problem?
The problem is most of these loans are not being supervised. When government give loans and somebody just come up and say, oh, there was an erosion that washed away all the seeds, so the loan is gone. Me and you remember, during the last Xmas, we bought rice for 40-something thousand naira per bag. Unfortunately, if you are to import rice from Thailand, the one bag of rice of 50 kg, the landing cost with your profit, with duty pay, with every other thing, will cost you less than 5,000 naira. With a freight charge, with duty, with warehousing, with your profit. Then, if you are to produce in Nigeria here, that you don't need to freight, you don't need to buy, just your own agricultural product here, you are selling for 40-something thousand. That means we don't have the capacity. It's as simple as that. We don't need to deceive ourselves. The law of principle of comparative advantage say, concentrate on what you have capacity for, and outsource the one you don't have capacity. I advise government at different forums that, look, even if you want to encourage all these products that we know we don't have the capacity, we can as well say, oh, let's encourage import. Put levy on that import. So that both the duty and the levy will be channeled into a pool. So that the limited resources of government will not be given out as a loan. Those farmers will go to that pool and get funds to meet standard.
When you say we don't have capacity,
yeah,
and the question comes to my mind, what do you mean by that? Are you talking of the weather? Are you talking of the land? Are you talking of the human resources? Which area would you say we don't have capacity? For instance, in rice, I mean, when you go to the north, we have wide fields of rice plantation. You have big institutions and companies investing in it. You have smallholder farmers also going to. So what do you mean by we don't have capacity?
Yeah, statistics shows that in Nigeria here, if we use all the land that are fertile to yield rice, we will yield 1.2 million metric tons per hectare. If we use all the land available to yield rice, we yield 1.2 million metric tons per hectare. Our local consumption is 3.6 million metric tons per hectare.
So it doesn't still meet.
So we have deficit of almost about 2.4 million metric tons. So in a situation where you now have the local consumption lower than the yielding consumption. I'm not talking about export consumption now. I'm talking about our local consumption. So in a situation where you have a small yielding capacity, you expect the price to jack up. You might have the land. You're only looking at land. You're not looking at population that are consuming the rice. So as we speak today, we don't have the capacity. Even in the days of agricultural capacity, that we have all these pyramids everywhere, we still import rice. Uncle Ben is a very good example.
So what do we have capacity for? Malaysia came here, took palm fruits, and now they are the world's
We have capacity for palm, but the government has abandoned it. We have capacity for cocoa. We have for sesame seed. We have for so many other cash crop, other products. But Nigeria do not focus on that. The reason why Nigeria is focusing on rice is because it's like a cocaine. You can yield your money very fast on it, and you can dictate the price. Otherwise, government should have challenged the farmers that, look, if people are importing, we are to protect the interests of the masses. And they are importing, and the cost of production, imported rice, 50 kg, is 5,000.
Yeah.
But you are yielding locally, and you are selling for 40. What is the... Because if you are to force me to consume my local consumption, I want to look at the standard. There must not be stones.
Yeah.
It must be... You see, when you're talking about local consumption, it all encompasses. And that's the only time you can encourage citizens to patronize local. And we also, pardon me, we also have foreigners that are here. Are you expecting them to eat rice with stones? Because you want to... You see, when you overprotect your economy, you destroy it.
And we still have AFTA. The issue of AFTA is on now, but we're not feeling the impact of that.
We cannot feel the impact, number one. I've said it the last time I was there. I said, look, there are basics requirements to be a good player in this continental free trade area. If you are not there, you are not there. There's nothing to hide. In terms of infrastructure, we are far behind. In terms of our policy, we are far behind. It is only in Nigeria that we have close to 30 items of goods that are prohibited. That's over protection of your economy. You destroy the economy. Open the markets. Let everybody participate. Let them compete. What are you hiding? If you tell me not to bring ball pen or to pick, you must provide for me someone that is meeting that standard. So if I want to write, the pen will not just fail while writing.
Because
you don't tell me I must patronize whether it's good or bad.
Because I want to do local.
Because I want to do local.
Standards.
Thank you so much, Dr. Segun Musa. I wish we had more time
Thank you very much.
to have this discussion, but I'm sure we can have you in a future date. And
I look forward to
on our invitation.
Thank you very
Dr.
much.
Segun Musa is the Deputy National President of Air Logistics in NAGAF, and he shared his thoughts with us with how we can boost non-oil exports in the country. We'll just take a break now. When we come back, we'll move to another area of discussion. To stay with us.
Welcome back. You're still watching Business Morning live from Channels HQ. On to our next conversation now. Oil prices fell for a second consecutive day today as the US dollar soared on the prospect of interest rate hikes in the United States, but were nevertheless on the track to finish the week flat, only slightly off the multi-year highs. Brent crude futures were down 52 cents at $72.56 a barrel, extending a 1.8% decline. And U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude futures was down 48 cents at $70.56 a barrel after retreating 1.5% on Thursday. The dollar has rocketed in the two sessions since the U.S. Federal Reserve projected possible rate hikes in 2023. Earlier than market watchers previously expected, a rising dollar makes oil more expensive in other currencies, curbing demand. The prospect of rate hikes also weighed on the longer-term growth outlook, which would eventually hurt oil demand, in contrast to the near-term outlook for growth in demand as COVID-19-related curbs on movement and business activity ease and road and air travel actually pick up. How does this affect Nigeria? And how is this the oil and gas scene in Nigeria? Mustafa Wahab, analyst with Chapel Hill Denham, joins us now to discuss this. Good to have you, Mr. Wahab.
Thank you very much.
Good morning.
Happy to be with you.
Good morning. Thank you for joining us. Well, oil prices are down for 2 days. They've been down for 2 days now, and the hike in price is supposed to be for Nigeria's good. But should we be worried right now?
I think not necessarily in the short term for oil price. Number one is that most of the economies of the world right now, they are still significantly, restricted. A lot of people still have, a lot of restriction in place because of COVID. And yet, as we speak, crude oil supply is far below, what we're seeing for demand. So we're currently in a deficit position, and the impact of this is possibly going to continue to support oil price at this, significantly elevated level at between 70, to $75 per barrel level. I think the declines that we saw in the last 2 days, the 2 days is just basically stemming from, the news around, the US now starting to gradually reduce some of the sanctions that is imposed on Iran. The prospect of the fact that Iran coming back to the market would most likely put a lot of pressure as far as supply is concerned, and obviously the impact of that is going to be negative on oil price. Hence the reason why we're seeing that sort of bearish sentiment. But between now and the next and the medium term, I still think that oil price would remain largely elevated, because of the fact that demand is still quite strong, despite the fact that a significant portion of the economies of the world are still largely restricted.
Well, with this elevation in oil prices also comes elevation in subsidy in Nigeria. In fact, FJ has said that its subsidy is not sustainable. And someone projected that by the time the oil price gets to about 75, Nigeria will pay about 1 trillion naira for oil subsidy. Now, we have had this subsidy conversation, for a while now. From your perspective, what is the way out?
I mean, we all saw President Buhari's conversation the last time he came to Lagos, and one of the key areas that he touched was around subsidy. And from the body language of the president, what I think generally is that subsidy in Nigeria is probably not going to go. I mean, at least in the next couple of months, and that's basically because of the fact that the president seemed a lot more convinced that it's in the interest of Nigerians to continue to pay subsidy. And which is quite surprising, because I mean we all understand that Nigeria cannot really afford subsidy. But the honest truth is that for me, in the short term, I think whilst we're waiting for whether or not subsidy would go in this sort of regime that we're in right now, I think some of the low hanging fruits was touched by the president, which I completely agree with. Right, if you beef up security in the border of the Nigerians of Nigeria with Nigeria and neighboring countries, we might start to see some sort of gradual deceleration in subsidy payments in Nigeria. And the reason is not far-fetched really. In-house in Chapel Hill, I mean, we estimated that Nigeria consume. We understand that Nigeria consume at least 17 billion liters of payment period per annum. Right, in-house in Chapel Hill, our estimate is that at least between 30 and 35% of that is essentially being smuggled out of the federation. And that's basically because of the fact that if you go to Niger, for instance, our PMS selling price is at least 3.5 times more expensive compared to what we see in Nigeria. You go to Cameroon, almost the same thing. In Cameroon, I think PMS price is about 4.5 times a lot more expensive when compared to what we have in Nigeria. So it just basically makes sense for anybody who sees the opportunity to buy Nigeria's PMS product at cheaper price and sell it to other neighboring countries. So if Nigeria is able to keep up security in the border, then it makes sense for us to some sort of gradual deceleration in subsidy payment.
So are you saying that if the issue of this leakage, the smuggled part, is dealt with, then Nigeria can still comfortably or somewhat continue with the subsidy in the meantime? Is that your opinion?
No. So it's still expensive. I mean, it's still quite expensive. At some point, we would have to let subsidy go. But the truth is that if we can plug some loopholes right now, we can see subsidy reducing by at least 30 to 35%, right? I mean, we still leave 70% huge amount of subsidy to be paid by Nigerian government on an annual basis. So, I mean, overall, we still can't afford it. But for a low hanging fruit, something that we can solve, like recently, in the medium term, I still feel like beefing up security in the border would solve the problem at least to a very tiny level.
All right, looking at this oil market right now, when do you think, what price should I be going short?
On oil price?
I'm looking to short it.
I mean, I would call shorting oil price to you. Why I would just say clearly is that our views in house in Chapel Hill is that oil price is going to average $65 per barrel in 2021. And our views is basically driven by the fact that we still think that OPEC, having done significant amount of job to keep, oil price, at these current levels for a long period of time, we still think that the impact of OPEC, the influence of OPEC in the market is still quite strong. So irrespective of what we're seeing as far as demand is concerned, what we think is that OPEC will continue to gradually adjust, production, to ensure that, oil price remain at a significant level, which it can support, budget implementation of all of its, member, including, OPEC plus member. So in-house, we're thinking $60 to $65 per barrel average over 2021. So, you can then decide on when
to short.
All
All right, let's look at the PIB now. The lawmakers have promised that the PIB would be passed this month. What role should we expect the bill to play in this scenario?
I think we've said it many times, right, in terms of role. So the way you can think about PIB is an ease of doing business policy in the oil and gas space, right? One thing that I think it should be understood by many is that Nigeria oil and gas industry, does not really exist in isolation. It basically exists in an environment where investments are moving towards climes where regulations and investment opportunities are clear, right? So what we think is that PIB will just basically provide us sort of regulatory clarity, both in the upstream and the downstream segment of the industry, and then could materially drive some sort of renewed investment interest in Nigeria. I think in over the last 5 years, we estimated that around 17 billion actually flowed into Africa in completed FIDs in the oil and gas space, right? And only 3 billion of that actually came to Nigeria. So the passage of PIB will probably be the potential key game changer as far as the upstream oil and gas sector is concerned. For the downstream, that regulation has been squeezing the industry significantly as far as downstream is concerned. So we think that if PIB is passed, that would just basically give the industry a lot more free will to operate. They are able to charge their own prices, they're able to determine what their own cost is, and the impact of this will essentially drive significant expansion as far as margin is concerned. So that's what I think the role of the PIB would play, and it becomes imperative to just basically quickly pass the bill.
So while we await the passage of the PIB, what should investors be doing? Should they just ignore the downstream and oil and gas sector?
To answer this question, right, I think it just basically makes sense to put things in proper context to understand where we're coming from, where we are right now, and where we're going. So what we did in-house in Chapel Hill recently is that we check, share price movement of the major downstream players in the last 5 years. And what we saw was that between 2018 and 2019, where price regulation in the industry was significant, we saw material deceleration in share prices across Total, Ardova, and Tana, right? So by March 2020, when FGM basically announced that they are most likely going to be removing fuel subsidy completely, we started to see some sort of renewed interest in the market. But since then, nothing material has actually changed in the industry. And so, to be honest, over the last 5 years, what we've seen is that the industry has been squeezed as far as margin is concerned. And this is not to say that downstream business across the globe is a strong margin generating business. No, I just feel like it's a lot more worse in Nigeria, because we checked Total Kenya, we saw that net margin in Total Kenya is roughly 5%. Total Ghana is doing around 4.7%. Engine in Botswana is also doing around 4%. As far as net margin is concerned, the best company in Nigeria is Tana, doing around 1.6%. So what we're saying is that regulation has actually squeezed margins significantly. So if that's the case, what investors then need to focus on would now be those businesses that have nice product diversification. For instance, we understand that in the last 5 years, margin that you get from selling lubes products is at least 15 times more expensive, more attractive compared to what you get for selling white products. So what we're saying is that investors should look at those companies who have nice, stronger portfolio of lubes, compared to just pure white product alone. For instance, Total and Alibaba, Total alone actually enjoy, at least 50% of the market share in loops business. Alibaba also is enjoying around 19% of the market share of loops business. So if investors could focus on this business, whose portfolio is a lot stronger in the loops business segment of the industry, then we'll probably see some sort of nice share price appreciation from that perspective.
All right. All right, we'll have to leave it there now. Thank you so much for your time on the program. Mustafa Wahab is analyst research at Chapel Hill Denham. Thank you so much for your time on the program. All right, so now on to the markets. Anyete, the equities is up for 2 sessions this week. I hope we end the week in the green, hopefully.
Good morning, Ladi. Well, you can see me beaming with smile. It's another win for the bull. At least so far, the month of June is turning out to be very, very good for some investors, especially those who took off from the sell-off that we saw in the month of May. So now let me bring you up to speed with what happened yesterday at the market. We were up again 0.13%. Wednesday, we were up 0.15%. So that means so far we've brought our month-to-date gain to about 0.5%, but while the year-to-date loss has been moderated to about 4.1%. Now, let's cross over to the sectoral performance. It was slightly mixed. Banking sector, consumer goods, insurance sector were in the green. Industrial goods sector was down by just a tad there. And then oil and gas sector was unchanged. Of course, it just shows you investors are still cashing in on some of the low prices of some high-value stocks, especially the fundamentally sound stocks. Equities markets really looking good at the moment. Now, but if you take a look at the volume of transactions yesterday, not too encouraging, 47% lower compared to the previous session, which we had. All of that on the activity was all in the red. But let's cross over to the unlisted securities market. It's another day of downturn there. Nearly 0.5% loss that's the second day of negative movement at the unlisted securities market. And of course, the volume of transactions there, just less than 1 million or 500,000, 10.1 million naira in 23 deals. And of course, the negotiations were focused on about just 3 out of 37 equities. So now, for more on the market, as regards the equities market, we'll talk to Rotimi Fakaejo, who is a stockbroker at the Nigerian Exchange Group. Thank you for joining us, Rotimi.
Good morning.
Yes, it looks as if the bear is just not giving up. We resumed the month of this week with a slight profit taking, but now the NGX, its market cap is going up. We also have the report that the ETF has climbed, it hit about 20.3 billion naira in the first quarter. So give us more information about the markets.
Well, I think the market, at least in the last 2 weeks, has been very remarkable. And this week also, I think at least we have seen some positive trajectories. Although sometimes within the week, negative, and yesterday we saw a positive trend with the closing of the market. And since there is really nothing to excite the market at this time, these are the possibilities that we're going to be seeing. But be that as it may, the half-year report will be what investors are actually looking at. For me, I believe that...
Okay, so he was just telling us that the market is still, is still having a positive outlook for the market. So, but for me, I think we'll keep that optimism on the market. So, still back to the unlisted securities market, it was not too encouraging there, volume and value of transactions. But let's switch over to the debt market, the fixed income market. The trading in the treasury bond was bullish. 26 total number of deals carried out there. The highest there was for the 26th of September 2024. And then, of course, across the benchmark curve, average yield contracted at the mid and long segments due to demand for the March 2027 and the July 2045 bonds. Switching over to the treasury bills market, it was quiet in that segment. And that comes a day after the the Treasury bills primary auction, investors were kind of cautious about the outcome of that. So, okay, so now let's go back to Rotimi Fakayejo to give us an update of the market at the NGX. Thank you for joining us again, Rotimi.
Yes, like what I'm saying in essence is that so far the market has really thrived well in vis-a-vis the various uncertainties related to the system, the insecurity, the reducing external reserves, and inflation figures, though it's been stable or reducing marginally. But all that be as it may, I think the market has really thrived sufficiently. And there is really no much avenue for investors to put money now that is safe. And we are not seeing a terrible thing happening within the system that may warrant a downward trend in the market. So I believe that the equity market still remains a safe place for investors to put their money in. And I think with patience and also a lot of resilience coming from the market, I think there's really much to really look forward to. And by the time we see the half-year report of the financials of the companies as at July, I think definitely investors will be able to make a better judgment of why they should hold and why they should take more positions within the market.
Okay, I'm sure investors will be keen on putting their money in the equities market, which is, of course, the barometer of Nigeria's economy. So thank you for bringing us up to speed on the market, Rotimi. So that was Rotimi Fakayejo, stockbroker at the NGX. Yeah. So, Adi, take a pick.
Looking at the market right now, it is up marginally, 0.01%. Let's see how it ends today. Thank you for the update, Anete.
It's a pleasure.
All right, so we'll take a quick break now. We'll come back. We'll do an opening call to London. Do stay with us.
You're still watching Business Morning on Channels Television. Over to the UK now, where Juliana is waiting. And Freedom Day seems farther in the UK, no thanks to Delta variant of the coronavirus. Juliana joins us now to bring us up to date. Good morning, Juliana, and thank you for joining us again.
Good morning, Innie.
Yeah. Well, for the first time since February, UK recorded more than 11,000 daily infections. What's the reaction of businesses and investors to this?
Oh, yeah, it's worrying, I would say. As you said, this surge of positive infections is the highest number in about 4 months. Deaths has also doubled. I believe there are like 19 deaths recorded on Thursday compared to about 7 the week before. According to the data that's been released, the biggest surge is amongst 5 and 12-year-olds. But we do know that the vaccine is helping. And if you have had 2 doses of the COVID-19 vaccine, you're less likely to test positive. And most importantly, you're less likely to die. This is all down to the Delta variant, or the so-called Indian variant. That is the dominant strain in the UK now. I believe that accounts to about 80% of all cases. And, for Prime Minister Boris Johnson, this is one of the main reasons why he has pushed back Freedom Day, just so we can start getting these case numbers down and more people can get their double vaccination.
Yeah, we do hope the numbers start going down in due course. Automotive fuel sales grew by 6.2% month on month in May, while retail sales fell. Now, how is this balancing out in the economy there?
Yeah, well, the retail sales figures are pretty surprising, showing that between the month of April and May, it was down 1.4%. This is from a 9.4% rise between the month of March and April. So it has left some economists wondering if, the consumer-led recovery is slowing down. It was mainly food sales that were down. I believe they were down between 5.4 and 5.7%. A lot of people, of course, couldn't go out to restaurants, could they? So they were spending more in Tesco. Tesco released their figures earlier today, kind of highlighting this information. People were, spending their money in restaurants. Online sales also down in the UK, down for the 3rd consecutive month. Still 60% higher than it was in February pre-pandemic 2020. But is this a cause for concern? Separate figures from the Bank of England do show show that credit and debit card spending is also down 5.6%. And because we know furlough is coming to an end, which means unemployment is going to rise, consumer comfortability is going to fall. Could this be the end? 1.4% down is, pretty surprising.
Yeah, it is. Well, Juliana, we just have to get more information from the UK during a Business Incorporated at 1:30. So do enjoy the rest of your day until then.
Thank you.
Yeah, moving over to the crypto space now. It's normally red on Fridays.
Yeah.
Laddie, is today different?
Well, it's actually still red. It's still red. It was red yesterday. And going with the emotions of the market right now, it's extreme fear at 25 points. Yesterday it was just fear, but today we have extreme fear. Market cap, $1.57 trillion traded in the total market, crypto market. It is down 3.61%. 24-hour volume is down 11.33% this morning. Bitcoin dominance is still inching up, but above the 40% level, but down this morning at 0.16%. Price of Bitcoin, 37,624, down 3.99% this morning. There's been so much talk about the ETFs being rejected. So that's actually keeping the price of Bitcoin down. It was flirting with that 200-day moving average. It is still there right now, but way below that. I see an interesting formation of a cup and handle here on the price chart of Bitcoin on the one-day chart. The MACD is looking like it wants to cross downward. It's looking like a sell pressure is moving right now in the market, with volume actually going down on the one-day chart. Price of Ethereum, $2,336, down about 4.24%. Let's talk to Michael Enaji now, digital market analyst. Hello, Michael.
Hey, good morning, Laddie. How are you?
Good morning. Great to have you. Well, it's no secret El Salvador's planning on making Bitcoin a legal tender. And the memes going around now, people in El Salvador actually owning Lambos because of this decision. But my worry now is, can the Bitcoin network manage day-to-day transactions?
Yes. The Bitcoin network can manage day-to-day transactions. The only thing is that it can happen on what's called the on-chain. So it can happen on what's called the layer 1, which is on the actual Bitcoin blockchain. It can happen on what's called layer 2s. And these are basically what's called state channels that basically allow you to send Bitcoin through a network that's called the Lightning Network. It allows people to settle day-to-day transactions, anything that they need. But basically, it's done through the Lightning Network. It reduces fees. It's very minimal. You can send a Bitcoin transaction in less than a second. You can also send it in less than a second. It makes Bitcoin spendable. But the whole key to it is the Bitcoin is actually locked on a layer 2. And every transaction that you want to do, there's a Bitcoin that's basically staked that, it's settled off chain basically. But in terms of actually using it, yes, there are these things called layer 2s. Lightning is the best one right now. And that basically allows Bitcoin to be used on a day-to-day basis.
All right, looking at the altcoin, market, what altcoins should the countries be looking to add into their as a legal tender, aside Bitcoin?
I think the best one, the best one has been chosen so far, which is Bitcoin. I think Ethereum tries to compete a lot with Bitcoin, but the best way of looking at it is most of these other altcoins are just applications, and Bitcoin is the first digital sound money that has ever existed. Ethereum is going to be having an upgrade in a couple of months or next month called EIP 1559, which will change it into deflationary money. So maybe that could be another second coin that another nation could add to its inventory. But for right now, Bitcoin is doing an excellent job in terms of what nation states needs to adopt. And the next nation state to look out for is probably Uruguay. In terms of who's going to move next.
So it's basically South America.
Exactly. Yeah, South America, because they've had the experience of dealing with hyperinflationary cycles back from the 80s to the 90s. So they're used to psychologically they're used to their currency basically evaporating. So they're able to they're able to tell like Bitcoin is a good way of like you said, is a good way of getting the Lambo by just holding technologies, holding a savings technology that doubles every 200% every year.
Yeah, true. Well, looking at Africa now, what country do you see towing this South American part first?
I honestly believe it's Ghana. Ghana, I think. Yes, because they said their CBDC is at basically they said it's at I think it was advanced stages. The central bank governor said a couple of weeks ago, and it's the only African country that has any that looks like it has any serious work being done. Nigeria has been working on theirs for the last 2 years, but they also I don't think they're going to adopt Bitcoin. I think they're most likely going to go the CBDC route. But Ghana looks like the first one that would put Bitcoin on their reserves and also make it legal tender.
All right, Michael. Before I let you go, quickly, where's the price of Bitcoin going this weekend?
The price of Bitcoin most likely is going to go down this weekend to about maybe 34,000.
Okay. All right, Michael. Thank you so much. Thank you. Always good to have you.
Thank you, lad.
Thank you. All right, Ini, heard it there. 35.
You had that piercing your heart that the price of Bitcoin is going down.
Yeah,
but,
maybe I should be shorting right now.
Well, Ghana might be the one to adopt Bitcoin, but I mean, Nigeria is working on its own digital currency.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
everything
we have ours coming
going
up.
to Ghana. I'm getting really jealous of Ghana right now.
We have ours. All right, that's it for the week on Business Morning. Thank you so much for watching. But do remember that at 1:30 p.m., Business Incorporated will be here to give you updated business stories. I'm Ini John Mekwa.
And I'm Ladi Williams. Thank you for watching.